Folks, Andrew Bopros here. Well, a lot of news has come through with the NFL owners meeting. Jim Harbaugh, got a lot of attention from the media, as well as Mike Tomlin. But I'll tell you, one rule was completely adjusted, and people are pretty upset about it on social media right now. A lot to discuss, guys. So let's get in. Bull Bros. Okay, folks, as always, like and subscribe if you do enjoy the content. I'm Andrew Bolpros. Well, we all know that Justin Herbert, is probably excited, ready to get into the season. And I will say this, this team is going to be very different, we know from last season, of course. And so a lot to discuss how this team is going to change moving forward. I'm going to save another video for this, but I also wanted to show this awesome picture. I think it's absolutely hilarious. You're welcome. So this is the NFL head coaches at they're down in Orlando. We can see our boys right here. The Harbaugh's right in the front, right next to the old Andy Reid, aka Glizzy. He looked at Corn Dog. Actually, he's Corn Dog, but we call him Glizzy. That's a good nickname for him. Call him Glizzy. He does like his hot dogs. But anyways, I think it's really interesting to see these head coaches here. And again, this rule that the hip drop tackle was eliminated. So we're going to talk a little more about that as well. So this is it right here. So this was apparently discussed. And again, it was amended rule number 12, section 2, adding article 18, which is the hip drop tackle. And if you don't know what that is, guys, it's when there's actually a definition. It's a foul if the player uses the following technique to bring a runner down to the ground. Now, grabs the runner with both hands. Okay, it's part of football, right? And then wraps up the runner with both hands and then unweights himself. It's a term, unweights, meaning just falls to the ground. You just go limp, right? You grip him, go limp by swiveling and dropping his hips on the lower body, landing and trapping the runner's legs at or below the knee. So look at the penalty for a hip drop tackle is now a loss of 15 yards and an automatic first down. Youts. That wasn't a word. I said youts. That didn't make any sense, but you get what I'm saying. Yowzers. There we go. That's what I was trying to say. What do you guys think about this? Okay, I think it's a bit ridiculous, but I understand that, again, it's keeping players healthy. Now, again, this was a unanimous agreed upon rule change, right? Which I was a little bit surprised. And apparently the numbers, they say that according to the momentum has been building for months now to get rid of the hip drop tackle. That's actually why Tony Pollard is on this thumbnail. With the league competition committee, executive vice president Jim Miller results in a 25% times rate of injuries as a typical tackle. So it increases the injury rate of tackling. Guys, eventually, I'm reading all kinds of things. People are like, hey, we're playing two-hand touch. This is flag football now. And guys, I think it's getting a bit ridiculous in my opinion, but what do you think? Hip drop tackle is out. 15 yards seems pretty excessive to me too. I could maybe understand 5. It's basically, that's ridiculous. That's a personal foul, right? So I don't know. Again, it's a player safety rule. I get it. I understand it. I really feel like this league has gotten a bit soft at this point. But what are your general thoughts on the hip drop tackle? It literally just passed a few hours from the time of this recording. But let's talk about Jim Harbaugh. And I want to talk also about how this team is going to be changing moving forward. Jim Harbaugh is changing the culture of this team. By the way, he's extremely excited to come into players come back. I think it's April 2nd, right? Yeah, okay, there we go. So, yeah, we're starting up April 2nd. That's when everyone comes back in the building. So it's very shortly here. Now, he's just excited. Now, I'm just going to be very clear about something here. I expect this team to be competitive and competing for a Super Bowl in year one. I 100% believe that. What do you guys think? What are your predictions of records for the Chargers? Again, I've said this over and over again. I think 12-5 is very doable. Let me tell you why. When Harbaugh took over the 49ers in 2011, he took a 6-10 team and went 13-3 in his first year. 13-3 in his first year, guys, with a lot less talent than he has currently on this team. You can argue, well, Andrew, we let everyone go. We let Austin Eckler walk. We let look, I get that, right? But the reality is he's got Justin Herbert. Justin Herbert's a top 5 quarterback. You know that. I know that. He's got a lot of weapons around him still. And I think we're going to get some weapons in the draft. But again, I do think 12-5 is doable. And I think we're going to be competing for a Super Bowl. I know people think I'm probably crazy, but at the end of the year, it's look, guys, we're going to play a different type of brand of football. I'm going to talk more about that as well. But I want to reiterate his notes. It's about a 35-minute video. I'm just going to give you my general notes on it. You could go watch it. It's on the Chargers YouTube page. I think it's definitely worth a watch. But there is a lot to be said about, what he said here. So again, he talks about the equipment staff, everybody, and he's just very thankful that, there's a lot of, people around him, supporting this team and supporting their vision. Right. And, and again, he just wants to thank everybody around him for everything going on. Now, he talked quite a bit about Keenan Allen. We didn't talk about this as much as we wanted to on our live on Saturday. So I kind of want to talk about it now. Keenan Allen said it was a business decision, and I think there's something to be said about that, folks. He chose money over staying with the Chargers. And I know everyone's going to be salty and angry. Oh, he should have retired a Charger. I agree. But folks, he made a decision. He made his decision to leave the Chargers. And this is exactly what Jim Harbaugh said. He says it's the business part of the NFL. Everyone does what's best for them. What's best for Keenan Allen was for him to move on, right? And so, again, he wants to be transparent. And it is what it is, folks. Again, breaks my heart. I love Keenan Allen. I really wanted him to retire a Charger. But it'd be very interesting to see how that plays out, And again, it's the transparent part of the NFL, and unfortunately it is what it is. So, but moving on, let's talking about two other players that did make some decisions. We got Khalil Mack and Joey Bosa. Now, I want to sit on both of these guys for just a little bit, right? Both of these guys took a pay cut, and specifically he talked about Mack and Bosa. And this is what he said. He's like, I'm thrilled to have Khalil Mack on the team and to have Joey Bosa on the team. They agreed to contract restructuring, right? So we could afford them moving forward. I'm going to talk a little bit more about why we needed to restructure these contracts moving forward. But again, another part of it, it's the transparent business piece of the NFL, right? Keenan Allen was extremely transparent about his desire to not take a pay cut. Well, Joey Bosa and Khalil Mack were very transparent that they were willing to take a pay cut to play together, right? Again, this is the third year coming together. I'm going to talk more about a statistic that I think is really amazing. And he did mention specifically who's excited to have both of these players, Jesse Minter. Think about this for a second, folks. When these guys were on the field, and there was some interesting statistic. I think Daniel Popper came up with it. It was like, we talked about it on our live. It was 44 snaps where he had Bosa and Mack and Thule on the field. They had a sack 25% of the time if all three of them were on the field. Whew! Beautiful. Folks, if these three guys can stay healthy, the sky is the limit for this team, right? And again, it's going to be very exciting. So again, thrilled to be coaching Khalil Mack is exactly what Harbaugh said. And, again, Joey, he's absolutely amazing. Jesse Minter is exactly ecstatic to have him back. And, again, Khalil Mack, just so you know, had his career best year at age, 32, 33, 17 sacks, folks. I really believe Thule helped him with that. Thule was, in basketball, you get an assist. That's really what I think you should have had. Thule really did a good job of taking some double teams, opening some gaps for Khalil Mack to come in and clean up. But again, Bosa recorded 6.5 sacks in 9 games played. And again, we all know his injury. I'm really hoping that he takes some time to get with Ben Herbert and really gets on the nutrition / physical fitness program that Ben Herbert's going to put these guys through. So I'm really hoping that happens as well. He continues on. He wanted to talk about the offensive line. And again, we talked about this on our live quite a bit. I think this is a great recap of how this team is going to look different. I'm going to kind of position this conversation a little bit different and talk about Austin Eckler as well. This team is going to look very different moving forward. Okay. Harbaugh says directly, the offensive line to me is important. If I were to ask you the question, like what position groups what position group depends on no other position group to be good, but every other position group depends on them to be good, what group would that be? He said flat out, it's the offensive line. And you think about it. If you're not protecting the quarterback, you can't throw the ball downfield. If you're not opening holes for the running back, you can't run the ball, right? So the offensive line is the most important part of the group in general, right? And you see this gentleman right here, Rashawn Slater. We all know what a stud he is. The money that Khalil Mack and Joey Bosa has freed up, and obviously not paying Keenan Allen and also Mike Williams at this point, gives us an ability to give money to Josh Palmer and this gentleman right here, Rashawn Slater. Again, building in the trenches is extremely important in the NFL, and Rashawn Slater obviously protects our crown jewel, which is Justin Herbert. So, again, offensive line does not rely on any other position to be good, but every other position relies on them to be good. And quite frankly, we haven't focused on the offensive line a whole lot. Zion Johnson will be fine. He talked specifically about the entire offensive line group. He actually described them as a fist, right? All 5 of them as a fist, which I thought was pretty interesting. Like, wow, it's a really great way of describing it. I hadn't really thought of it that way. But again, he specifically talks about, Rashawn Slater, Zion Johnson, Jamari Sawyer, Trey Pipkins, and then they added Bradley Bozeman as our center. And by the way, I think Bradley Bozeman is going to be a fantastic center. So if we do not pick up a center in this draft, I think we'll be okay. And he specifically talked even about Jordan McFadden, who also could potentially play center. I've talked about that a few times already. I do think that he might get some snaps at center. Could be a guy that can back up, Bradley Bozeman. Really, Jordan McFadden can play just about any position. He's a fantastic offensive lineman. But again, speaking of the offensive line, he says that I think they're really good. They're really willing, and they're just a mentally fit group that's ready to go. And again, it's like a fist, all 5 of them, right? So anyways, he talked quite a bit about that. Again, talk about Jamari Sawyer being very versatile, McFadden being very versatile. And I suspect if we pick up anyone on the offensive line, we're going to pick up players that are going to be very versatile, that we can plug and play in different positions. I just really see that happening quite a bit. So, and he did wrap up kind of the one person I want to talk about is he talked about Alohi Gilman. And by the way, Gilman has just been absolutely fantastic. Again, I have to give it up for Aether. I never thought that he would be as good as he was last season. I'm so glad we re-signed him. It was interesting that he was one of the first person we re-signed, right? But, Harbaugh specifically said, super excited about our safeties, Alohi and Derwin. It doesn't get any better than that, right? And, he basically talked about how he's kind of paid attention to him. He's been a long fan of Alohi from his time at Notre Dame and Navy days, right? He's just getting a chance to be around him in the interactions I've had. He's just who I thought he was, right? So it's exciting to see that Gilman is back. And, I think defensively we're going to be very well. And again, I like Fulton. I think he's going to do a very good job as a corner. I do think we're going to draft a corner as well, but there's a lot going on there, right? Again, Gilman, I'll talk a little bit about his numbers, and then we'll go on to the next topic. Gilman has set the tone for the defense, has shown a nose for the football, 3 forced fumbles, 2 fumble recoveries, 2 interceptions, 10 passes defended in 2023. I do think he'll be used, Derwin James and Alohi Gilman will be used quite differently underneath Minter, of course. So I'm very curious to see how our defense is going to shape up, moving forward. On to the next topic. Greg Roman, I wanted to talk about him specifically and how things have changed. If you've seen what Austin Eckler has said recently about just in general, Austin Eckler, right? We are going to play power football. And Austin Eckler, I guess, was approached by a few different, ultimately when, Harbaugh and Greg Roman came in there, Austin Eckler has come out recently and said a few things. He's a very social media friendly type of guy. He came out and said a few things that really sort of made me think a lot about how different the philosophy is going to be moving forward in the running back room. And I'm going to explain something too. This is a direct quote from Austin Eckler. Chargers came to me and kind of told me what they were looking at running back position, and it wasn't what I could offer as a player. There was a misalignment is the word he uses. Yeah, they're interested, but are you really? If all else fails, bring Austin back type of thing, because I don't want to be in that scenario, right? Look, bottom line, he's not a running back, right? He is what you call a scat back, and he's even admitted to everybody, he's really not a power running back. He's a guy that is really a third wide receiver or a second wide receiver, depending on what we have on the field. I mean, that's what he's good at, right? But he's not a pure running back, okay? And it just goes to show you, when you go back to what really Greg Roman wants to do, his whole philosophy is big bodies, smash the ball down your throat. I'm not joking, guys. It is going to be a physical football team. So, again, ask yourself this question: does Austin Eckler fit that bill? The answer is no. When he says misalignment, he's not wrong. Okay, he's not wrong. Now, again, I love Austin Eckler. I think he's an absolutely fantastic running back. But again, what have we done up to this point? Zone reads, more spread it out, a lot of wide receivers, spread the ball out, have large gaps in between each, offensive lineman, and then you could pick your hole and just go. That's what he was good at. That's not what Greg Roman is going to run. When you say power football, it's GT counters, it's halfback dive right, halfback dive left, tight end comes down, moves in motion, hits the A gap, running back falls right in line right behind him. Power the ball and demoralize the defense on the other side of the ball. You think about how Michigan won a national championship against Ohio State and all these other went undefeated last season, right? They did it by beating the other defensive team senseless, right? They could not stop, third and shorts. They couldn't stop, the running game, right? They beat them into submission, and that's what they do. And guys, we got Gus Edwards, right? We got Gus the Bus. He's a big dude. He's physical. He's going to make you pay for trying to put him on the ground. That is how we are going to play football, okay? That is the running game. And that's what we struggled with for so long, guys. We never had an identity as a running team. We just kind of, let's zone read it. I don't know. Let's try this one out. Let's just see what happens here. Let's do some trickery here. Let's do a jet sweep here. And there was no identity. There was no go-to play, right? You think of like the Eagles. The Eagles got the tush push, right? I mean, is that their identity, the tush push? Well, the brotherly shove. Kind of, I'll tell you right now, they played physical, right? So that's my point. We are going to play physical. And again, one guy that I still think we could go after is J.K. Dobbins. Dobbins, pretty cheap. Probably get him for about $3 million a year, maybe $4 million. Again, he's a little different than Gus Edwards, probably a little more athletic, not as much of a power back, but he fits within the system very well for what we want to do moving forward. So again, it's a completely different philosophy moving forward. And I really, truly believe that this guy we could sign for very cheap. I think what they're trying to do right now is work out the contracts for Josh Palmer and really Rashawn Slater. And then they're going to make some decisions on where they're going to go moving forward. So again, folks, I just want to say this. Bottom line, I cannot be happier with what's going on with this team. Again, it breaks my heart to lose people like, Keenan Allen, Mike Williams, but it's great to see Khalil Mack and Joey Bosa back. I did not think Joey Bosa was coming back, but he did. He took the pay cut. But this team is going to be different, folks. We're going to play power football. When we say power football, folks, we're going to ram the ball down your throat, and you're going to go, holy crap, we didn't stop him again. 12, 15, 20 play drives, demoralizing that defense. So in the fourth quarter, we're in better shape than you, and you're gassed, and we are going to win, right? That's how this team is going to play. And again, I'm excited to see it, folks. Well, what do you guys think? What do you think of the hip tackle or the hip drop tackle, being a penalty now? What do you think about all these different changes? What do you think about, Keenan Allen? What do you think about these comments that Jim Harbaugh has made? As always, guys, Andrew Bopros. Again, like and subscribe. See you guys in the next one.